talk to a lot of parents through this process, and I would love your guidance here because I think this is one of the things that all parents try to figure out how do you
Yeah.
support your child in their athletic development, their dreams, and
Yeah.
how do you where's the playbook for that? I'm looking for
Yeah.
that manual.
I want to be fully transparent. I am not a parent.
Yeah.
Okay. So I cannot empathize with the actual pain of having to watch your kid go through this. But I know the research and I know
I got to
from
get
that
your dad on
perspective.
here. I got to get your
Yeah.
dad
So I am not telling you how to parent. I'm just going to tell you
on here.
some things to consider. One of the biggest things that we know is important, especially for kids' development, is that they need to believe that they have at a bare minimum, one trusted adult in their life that they can absolutely depend on, physically, mentally, and emotionally, that is there for them. And
Yep.
what we know is that if they don't have that trusted adult, it's much harder for that kid to be resilient and get through tough times because they're constantly in like survival mode.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to thrive and to grow when you're in survival mode, when you don't have that support. And so what I say to parents is that's what you need to be their absolute support. And if you are in any way degrading that support because of the pressure you're putting on them or your own expectations of what you think they should be doing on a field or court, I would consider rethinking that.
Yeah.
It's not worth the overall health and wellness of your child to get bent out of shape about a sport they're playing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so thinking about if for parents as best you can, I know that you love your child.
Yeah.
I know that you want the best for them. And I know that you're doing what you think is the right thing. Right? Most parents have very good intentions.
Yeah. Of course.
Um, but the way you're executing that
Yeah.
might be problematic. And really what research is pretty clear, what kids need from parents is support.
Yeah. Yeah.
What they need from coaches is the kick in the butt, the
Right.
instruction, they need that stuff. But parents need to be there for that mental, emotional, physical support.
Are there
Uh,
signs that you would see that a child is unhealthily stressed that parents should be paying attention to? Is there stuff that would
yeah,
be clues?
it's not universal for every kid. And this is a little bit about knowing your kid, but looking for behavior that is considered bad behavior or atypical behavior for them. Right? If they're
Yeah.
typically pretty calm and composed, and all of a sudden they get to the sidelines and they're throwing their water bottle or being rude to a teammate or rude to a coach, right? That's an indication that they're stressed, right? They're feeling it. So bad behavior, lapses in character, lapse behavior that you would not typically see from that kiddo. I would say if they go quiet
Mm.
or if they start to freeze up or just get that deer in the headlights, you're really just looking for behaviors that are not their normal. So obviously each individual kid is
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
be a little bit different, but
Yeah. Those are helpful.
yeah.
Is there guidance on how to work with the coaches and how to help their create a good environment between us?
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Yeah, there's so much, right?
Yeah.
I think sometimes we forget as the adults that we are working with children.
Yeah.
And I don't care how old your kid is, 18, your brain is still not fully functioning. Your brain
Yeah.
is still not fully formed into adult mode. Your frontal cortex does not fully develop until about 22, 23. Okay,
Yeah.
so they are still operating, they're still kids. And I think sometimes we forget to treat them as growing, developing people, and treat them as finished products. And that's obviously not great because they are not. They're
Yeah.
growing. Gosh, especially when you throw puberty into the mix and
Right.
holy Lord. Yeah. So I think some of the things that you can really do is as best you can as the parent, understanding what your role is, which is support, getting your kid to and from if they can't drive yet, supporting the efforts and supporting the coach as best you can, right?
Yeah.
90% of youth sport coaches are volunteers.
Yeah.
They're not getting paid to be there. They're doing it out of the goodness of their heart or because their kid's on the team and they want a good experience. And so giving that coach the benefit of the doubt that they're trying.
Yeah.
Now, we do know there are some horrible coaches out there, that it's all about ego. They're just trying to
Yeah.
win. They're not remembering that this is youth sport. And
Right.
the goal ultimately is to grow and develop kids and to help them build character, to help them build leadership skills, to help them be successful humans. And we're just
Yeah.
using sport to do it. And so I think as a whole, coaches and parents, we need to just remind ourselves this is about child development. We
Yeah.
want to help
Yeah.
this kid, no matter where we perceive them to be on the talent pool. Your job is to help this kid get better while they're on your team and help them
Yeah.
have success, right? Even if they're
And we'll
primarily,
leave the coaches for another show
yeah,
because that's a longer
yeah.
topic.
But so
But I
parents,
agree with you.
it can be tough, right? But so doing your best to stay aligned with the coach. And if you're finding a situation where your kid is not being coached, they're not being developed, they're just a number or something, or
Yeah.
your coach's philosophy does not align with your personal values, leave, go elsewhere, right? Do what you got to do to find a situation for your kid that is aligned with what you want for your kid. And unfortunately, there's a great podcast. I highly recommend it. If you guys aren't listening to Youth Inc., Greg Olson, the tight end, a lot of years, he runs it. And it's an entire conversation on how to change youth sports and moving forward because my generation lived through sports in a certain way and now has kids playing in the current, he's coaching football. And he talks about this, like as a parent,
That's awesome.
sometimes there aren't other options, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, it's like AAU, it's travel ball, it's this. I don't really
Yeah.
like that. I don't like the environment. I don't want to spend that kind of money.
Yeah.
So just being an advocate, understanding what you want, what's right for your family too, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And it's hard. I'm not going to pretend that there's
Yeah. Yeah.
easy answers to that, but as best you can, you be aligned with the coach with the overall intent of your kid developing their skill set, their character, their leadership ability, right? Keep that in
That's
mind.
good.
What's your overall end state?
No, that's really good. That's
Yeah.
really good.
Too many parents are focusing on this is a return on investment. They're going to get a college scholarship.
Yeah.
Hate to break it to you.
Yeah.
There's only about it's different per sport. It goes as low as 2%, as high as like 20% for like hockey and lacrosse because so few people play it. But
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
roughly, we'll average it out about 7% of high school athletes play in college.
Yeah.
So
The number makes sense. Makes sense.
and only a certain amount of those are getting money.
Exactly.
Quit turning this into a, yeah.
Yeah. Totally.